think that feelings as emotions. What type of emotion? Characteristic emotion. What type of character? What do you mean by character? They are peculiar. They are peculiar to himself. So oneself. That means thinking about one. One means idiographic. Individual is specific, unique. His behavior is also unique. He says he had given more importance for the individual rather than the group study. But he has not ignored the group study. Where what he told about that we'll say. So dynamic we have already discussed in the first class. Often I used to discuss this one. Now we go forward. Now we will come for the structure of the personality. Three things are there. One is self is there, core self is there, and then certain motivations are there. Then behavior is there. That behavior is nothing but the trait. What is the trait? Frequently exhibited behavior with more intensity. Frequently exhibited behavior is called as
Right.
habit.
Oh, that's habit, yeah.
Habit. Frequently related habits together. So neatness or adamant, arrogance, whatever you say, different fields, different areas, different contexts, put together that trait comes in. Right? So related habits repeatedly exhibiting is generally trait. Now the trait is neurophysical, neuropsychic structure. That is neurological content is there, psychological content is there in this behavior. Because of that only you are frequently with intensity you are exhibiting that behavior. That those behaviors, not same behavior always in the same situation, but there could be slight change in that exhibition of behavior. Even then we call it as same trait because there he says that as a consistent behavior. That consistency word used functionally equivalent. Please remember this phrase. Functionally equivalent meaning consistent behavior. That means small difference could be. Now coming to he had given 8 characteristics to this recurring habit or the behavior. Uh, Trait is more than nominal existence, not mere existence. It has a lot of meaning and value to it. It is more generalized than the habit. Related habits become the traits, and it is having more intensity. So it is more generalized. So group of specific habits become general trait. Please remember, group of specific habits become trait. Repeated behaviors or habits, repeated specific group of behaviors together is called as general trait. Then they determine our behavior. We have seen nature of the personality. What is the nature of personality? As in the I think first unit, nature is guiding the behavior, giving meaning to the behavior, giving direction to the behavior, giving opportunity to measure the behavior. So. So he also given here. Now traits existence may be established empirically, observable, experimentable. These aspects are there. Then it is relatively independent of each trait is relatively independent. Relatively means not complete independent. Some dependence of one trait other is there, but overall. They are not synonymous with the character. What is character? Character is social judgment of good person or bad person. Array, good person means character literally. It is not about morals or the character. It has own meaning of the behavior in a particular situation, particular time and situation. So it is individual. Certain these traits are common also. This common trait does not give us the peculiarity. Habits that are inconsistent, uh, that are inconsistent with the trait is not proof that traits are not existing. If opposite traits are there, doesn't mean that he is not having those two traits. So common traits is there are classified into two common types and the unique types, individual types. Common types is studied we people get from the culture. For example, respecting others, not smoking before the elders. Some certain the social norms are there, social norms are cultural values are there. These are considered to be common traits given by the culture. So it is the culture that gives the common traits. That is what he says. But they are not important because different cultures give different traits. Not only that, because they are common, it won't become a peculiar. That's why he has not given value. So he studied value it all. In a common trait, values come in. In the one of the 11 methods of study, he had given values also. He told that these values also make traits common. The traits based on the values make the traits common among certain group of people. What are those groups? He tells that from the occupation perspective, teachers, those will have value of theoretical values. Business people will have economic value. Artists will have aesthetic value. Social workers will have social values. Politicians will have political values. And theology will have religion. So these groups will exhibit common traits, but they are not peculiar. That's why he has not given much importance. He has concentrated on the peculiar or individual uh,
Right.
traits. So what are the, he classified into three groups. All these three are derived from the genes. They are predisposed, but environment also changes them. So the environment effect causes the epigenetics and the change in the expression of the genes. So these are all dynamics. They're all dynamically developed as one grows. What are the cardinal dispositions? Cardinal dispositions are all pervasive. One few persons will have one or two cardinal principles only. Around those 2 points only, his behavior will be exhibited. But this type of behavior, this coordinate behavior, will not be seen in everybody. If you see a positive cardinal principle, one or two, they will become eminent people in the society. Example are given is Mahatma Gandhi and Hitler. If you see Mahatma Gandhi, his value is peace and non-violence, truth and peace, truth and non-violence. See another one is Satyagraha. Now, if you see, more than any person in the modern world influenced the world or the social political movements, oppressed categories is Mahatma Gandhi. Why and how? What are these non-violence rights? This character of non-violence and the truth made him the most eminent, most famous person in the world. Across the world, have seen many people talking larger and high about the Gandhi, irrespective of their nationality and the culture. Example, if you see Martin Luther King, he fought against the racial discrimination in America. Nelson Mandela, he fought against the racial discrimination in South Africa. Johannes Muste, post-World War, he fought for the peace in the world. Also, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, if you see the freedom movement, Afghanistan, he also got African Gandhi. African Gandhi, Afghanistan Gandhi, American Gandhi, so many Gandhis are there in different countries. I have seen no such person. Why he got it? This is simple trait of it. Now it is a culture nowadays in the modern India to kill Gandhi by different false propaganda, right? These elements, can anybody influence like that? Have you seen any modern person influencing like that? This is our question to be answered by all Indians. Next comes Hitler and aggression. Hitler is known for his aggression. Now you see many modern countries who want to, in the democratic and the capitalist countries also, where a person want to become a dictator, they use all the strategies of Hitler. Okay. Now we'll stop this. These cardinal principles of narcissistic and cruelty are the cardinal principles of Hitler. If you see all his strategies, actions, behavior, interpersonal relations, and international relations, this is achieved. Next comes central dispositions. What are the central dispositions? He called traits as disposition. Please remember this one. He called trait as the dispositions. What are the central dispositions? There could be, this is one cardinal or one and two. Above the cardinal, there are central. Above the central, there are secondary. Central dispositions 5 to 10. They are useful in understanding the person, to describe a person, because they are general traits. Please remember, there is a global picture of it. Central disposition are global picture of personality they give, and also they are general traits. Secondary dispositions are very peripheral. less consistent, less generalized, and less relevant because they are based on our food habits, hairstyle, food preferences, and such specific attributes. So in order to understand that, what we require, intimate relationship is required. Coexistence or long friendship are required to understand secondary dispositions. We discussed about the traits as a part of the structure of the personality. Second one is motivational components. There are two types of motivation. One is the survival needs based motivation. We call it that opportunistic functioning. Second is psychological needs. They call them as the appropriate functioning. This is a psychological functioning which expresses yourself, core self. He says that there is a core self in every person. That is what it drives. Even though he has not used the self in the definition of his personality, while explaining that he used the word proprium, that entire personality surrounds around the self of an individual. So this self or proprium that pushes you, that make you proactive, that make you future oriented, that make you fulfill all your psychological needs. That's why these functions you undertake to fulfill your psychological needs is called as appropriate functioning. Now, what is proprium? You will see there is core self or total self or proprium. Different words are used. The highest in the structure, the governing force. It establishes unity inwardly. It gives what gives the consistent behavior. Proprium, it gives a consistent behavior. It gives the unique behavior or trait or the unique human behavior. How it develops, we will see later. Now it consists of the dynamic aspects like the self dynamic aspects. What are the self identity, self esteem, self image, self rationality, self striving, knowing the self. These are all different dynamic operations done by the self. The person who understands this is called as self-aware person. How it develops age-wise, he has discussed later. In the functional part, we will discuss later. Process of becoming. Process of becoming is nothing but the personality development. Being and becoming, who discussed? Ontology.
The previous one.
Maslow. Excellent. Now he says, what is that becoming process? He says inward organization of self-awareness. It is not there at the birth, it develops. We will discuss that in the next functional part. Right? Now coming to the proprium. No, he has given in here only, in the definition only as a functional definition. Now, proprium is self, core self or total self. He explains that from experience perspective and the functional perspective. Experience is that whatever you experience, you see it as an essential. Whatever you see as essential and positive and important, not peripheral, but central, not cold, but warm emotionally, not incidental, but essential. Whatever elements you take in your experience, they form yourself. Right? Then what is the functional definition? He says how it develops. This total self develops 8 functions at each age. Otherwise, development of the self, he says, in terms of the stages. All the humanists, all the humanists and existential theories studied the self. So William James gave a lot of inputs about the self. Those who are interested can read it. Coming back to this point of self, he says in the first year, boy develops the proprium of the body, sense of the body. That is awareness of the bodily sensations in the first year. Second year, he develops self-identity, how he is different from others in the society. In the third year, he develops self-esteem, that is pride in his accomplishment, like the dressing, walking on his own, talking, appreciation from others for his initiative. These are self-esteem is there in the third year. Then self-extension happens in the fourth year, that he moves to other persons and he will interact with others. And in the environment, his role is activities are being taken place. Then comes the self-image development. This is another function, self-image. He develops what this is generally people call conscience, but some people call it ideal self, some people call it as persona. So he starts, after seeing the mirror, after appreciation from others, he starts forming his own image, right? This self-image leads to the ideal self also later. Then this is discussed by ideal self is discussed by Adler as well as Rogers. Now, rational coping. What is rational coping? Abstract thinking will be developed as a problem solving from 6 to 12 years. Then appropriate striving, we all know, striving for superiority, striving for perfection, a fully functioning person, self-actualization, all these you put into the appropriate striving, whatever others discuss. He also discussed about that. Here he talks about goals, ideals, plans, vacations, and sense of direction, sense of purpose in the life. So eighth one, people he gave is emergence of self as a knower in the adulthood. What I am, self-awareness is developed at the end in the adolescence. Sorry, in the adulthood, yes. 12th,
Adulthood.
yeah. So now the structure is over. Now we will see the dynamic part. There are functional autonomy and the conscious unconscious motivation, and then the psychological maturity. Briefly, we discussed motivation is about the, in order to understand, he had given a theory of motivation. Always understand from the current perspective what is there as it is, current moment, contemporary nature, and then there will be different motives will be there simultaneously, and the more importance is given or analyzed by the cognitive process, and each one have his own motivations unique to him. So he says that functional autonomy not based on the past. Only child will have the unconscious forces that we have discussed earlier. Same thing he says in the functional autonomy. He says that as an adult, he is self-driven. Number one. Number two, as a functional part, he is not only self-driven, he is diverse from the past. He thinks in the past, present, and the future. So you need not study the past. That is what it says. So due to self-motivation, he learns and his thought process develops. From this, he develops habits called as preservative function of autonomy, appropriate function of autonomy. Through preservative autonomy, he develops habits. Through appropriate functional autonomy, he develops values, self-image, and lifestyle. So this preservative or is about the low habits, low level habits, not appropriate about the high level habits, otherwise psychological needs based habits. Then this appropriate, the preservative function gives a feedback and maintaining purpose it is used. And appropriate function, that is about the preservative. Appropriate functioning of autonomy is about the conscious operations, self-direction, self-values, internalizing these own values, honesty and hard work, diligent like me. And it gives, with that, one develops principle of organization. He organizes one's energy, principles of mastery, he develops higher competitive levels, and then he principle of appropriate patterning, meaning compatible with the total self, what social ideal self is there, towards that he will be, his behavior will be consistent and integrated. Now, conscious, unconscious forces. Now, coming to the third part, the conscious and unconscious motivation. But first one is that it is about the functional autonomy of the motives, how they behave freely from the past with the in tune with the ideal self. Now we see the conscious, unconscious. Conscious, where ego does not have energy. Who told this? Freud told. And Freud talks about the unconscious person. Now he refuted that claim, laid emphasis on the conscious motivation. then mature normal adult will always control his consciousness. Self-regulation is there. In fact, all the conscious motivations are somewhat influenced by desires hidden in the unconsciousness. Even though he condemned, at last he agrees with the Freud that somehow our unconscious hidden desires motivate us even in the later ages. So what is the last one is our maturity level, functional part. A well-developed proprium will have following character. What are they? That is the seven characteristics of health are the healthy person endures extensions of the self. That means wide range of relationship. Second one, warm relationship with others based on trust and empathy. And third one, a realistic perception of the others, not using defense mechanisms. Problem-centered and the development of the problem solving skills, and self objectification means using the humor insight on one's behavior. Self awareness is there. Finally, unifying philosophy of life. One values what are the is life as value oriented life and differentiated from religious sentiments. Please remember this, and personalized conscience. This is what he says that this the theory looks to be good, but trait theory is not given much experimental based and not very comprehensive and very precise in his definition. And then his college is parsimony and supported by the result using research. Okay, sir. This is about now. Time is over. Let us. Any doubts, please?
Next week.
Next week. Thank you very much. Okay, sir. Thanks.
Sir, you're going to share the PPT with us, sir?
Okay, please ask the department. They will share it.
I have messaged it on this one, but they are not responding.
Okay, sir. Let us please ask again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.